The story of King Arthur is a legendary tale that has been told and retold for centuries. According to the legend, Arthur was a brave and chivalrous warrior who became the king of Britain and ruled with wisdom and justice. According to the Arthurian legend, Arthur was the son of Uther Pendragon, the Duke of Cornwall, and was born in Tintagel Castle in Cornwall. His mother, Igraine, was the wife of Duke Cornwall of Cornwall, but Uther Pendragon, who was deeply in love with her, used magic to disguise himself as Cornwall and slept with Igraine, resulting in Arthur's conception. When Cornwall learned of the affair, he went to war with Uther, and Uther, in turn, besieged Tintagel, where Igraine was staying. In the end, both Uther and Cornwall were killed in the conflict, and Igraine gave birth to Arthur. Arthur was then entrusted to the care of Sir Ector and Sir Kay, who raised him in secret and taught him the ways of chivalry and honor. When Arthur was a young man, he was recognized as the rightful king of Britain when he pulled the sword Excalibur from the stone, a feat that only the true king was able to accomplish. After becoming king, Arthur established the Knights of the Round Table, a group of brave and chivalrous warriors who served him and upheld the ideals of honor and justice. The Knights of the Round Table were said to be the greatest knights in all of Britain, and their adventures and quests have been the subject of many stories and works of literature over the centuries. Some of the most famous Knights of the Round Table include Sir Lancelot, Sir Galahad, Sir Gawain, and Sir Tristan. One of the most famous stories about the Knights of the Round Table is the quest for the Holy Grail. According to the legend, the Holy Grail was a sacred object that possessed the power to heal and bring eternal life. The Knights of the Round Table embarked on a quest to find the Holy Grail, and many of them, including Sir Lancelot, Sir Galahad, and Sir Tristan, had great adventures and performed feats of bravery in their quest. Another famous story about King Arthur is the tale of the wizard Merlin. According to the legend, Merlin was a powerful magician who served as Arthur's advisor and helped him become king. Merlin was said to have great knowledge and wisdom, and he used his powers to protect Arthur and the kingdom of Britain. Despite his great achievements and the love and loyalty of his knights, Arthur's reign was not without challenges. He faced many enemies, including the evil sorceress Morgana, who sought to destroy him and take over the kingdom. In the end, Arthur was betrayed by his own knights and was fatally wounded in a battle against his son, Mordred. The story of King Arthur ends with his death, but the legend of this brave and chivalrous warrior king has lived on through the centuries. The Arthurian legend has inspired countless works of literature, poetry, art, and film, and remains an enduring and influential part of Western culture. Some people even believe that Arthur is not truly dead, but rather sleeps in the mythical land of Avalon, where he will one day return to save Britain in its hour of need. The legend of King Arthur has undergone many changes and adaptations over the centuries, and there are many different versions of the story. In some versions, Arthur is portrayed as a great and wise king who ruled justly and brought peace and prosperity to his kingdom. In other versions, he is depicted as a flawed and fallible human being who struggled with personal demons and made mistakes. Regardless of how he is portrayed, however, the legend of King Arthur has had a profound impact on Western culture and continues to captivate the imaginations of people all over the world. Whether it is through literature, poetry, art, or film, the story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table remains an enduring and beloved part of our cultural heritage. The Arthurian legend has been a source of inspiration for many writers and artists over the centuries, and there are countless variations of the story. Some versions of the legend focus on the political and social issues of the time, while others focus on the personal lives and relationships of the characters. One of the most enduring themes of the Arthurian legend is the idea of chivalry and honor. The Knights of the Round Table were renowned for their bravery, integrity, and commitment to justice, and their code of conduct has inspired many people throughout history. Another important theme of the Arthurian legend is the idea of love and loyalty. The relationships between the characters, especially the relationship between Arthur and his queen, Guinevere, are often complex and fraught with conflict, but ultimately, the characters are loyal to each other and willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Despite the many challenges and obstacles that the characters face, the Arthurian legend ultimately portrays a hopeful and optimistic view of the world. It suggests that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility for redemption and renewal, and that the virtues of honor, loyalty, and love can conquer all obstacles. The legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table has inspired countless works of literature, poetry, art, and film, and it continues to captivate the imaginations of people all over the world. Whether it is through the epic tales of knights and quests, the romance of Arthur and Guinevere, or the magic and mystery of Merlin and the Holy Grail, the Arthurian legend remains an enduring and beloved part of our cultural heritage. There are many different versions of the Arthurian legend, and it has inspired countless works of literature, poetry, art, and film over the centuries. Some of the most well-known works that draw upon the Arthurian legend include Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Milry. This 15th-century work is perhaps the most famous and influential version of the Arthurian legend. It tells the story of Arthur's rise to power, the establishment of the Knights of the Round Table, and the many adventures and quests of the knights, including the quest for the Holy Grail. The Idylls of the King by Alfred, Lord Tennyson. This 19th-century poem cycle retells the Arthurian legend in a romantic and heroic style, focusing on the themes of love, loyalty, and the quest for the Holy Grail. The Once and Future King by T.H. White. This 20th-century novel tells the story of Arthur's life from his childhood to his death, and explores themes of power, justice, and the human condition. The Sword in the Stone by T.H. White. This novel is a prequel to The Once and Future King and tells the story of Arthur's childhood and his journey to becoming king. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This 1975 film is a comedic retelling of the Arthurian legend, featuring Monty Python's trademark wit and absurdity. There are many other works of literature, poetry, art, and film that have been inspired by the Arthurian legend. Some other notable examples include The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This novel tells the story of the Arthurian legend from the perspective of the women in the story, including Igraine, Guinevere, and Morgana. Camelot by Lerner and Loewe. This musical, which was made into a film in 1967, tells the story of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and explores themes of love, loyalty, and the quest for the Holy Grail. Merlin by Robert Nye. This novel retells the story of the Arthurian legend from the perspective of the wizard Merlin, and explores his role in Arthur's rise to power and the establishment of the Knights of the Round Table. The Arthurian Handbook edited by Norris J. Lacey. This reference book provides an overview of the Arthurian legend and its many variations, and includes information on the historical and cultural contexts of the story. The Legend of King Arthur by Howard Pyle. This illustrated book tells the story of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table in a romantic and heroic style, and includes beautiful illustrations that bring the story to life. There are many other works that have been inspired by the Arthurian legend, and this list is by no means exhaustive. The enduring appeal of the story and its themes of love, loyalty, and the quest for justice have made it a source of inspiration for countless writers, artists, and filmmakers over the centuries. There are many different interpretations and variations of the Arthurian legend, and it has been a source of inspiration for writers, artists, and filmmakers for centuries. Some of the most well-known adaptations of the Arthurian legend include Excalibur, 1981. This film, directed by John Boorman, tells the story of Arthur's rise to power and the establishment of the Knights of the Round Table. It features an all-star cast, including Nigel Terry as Arthur, Helen Mirren as Morgana, and Liam Neeson as Gawain. Arthur and the Invisibles, 2006. This animated film, directed by Luc Besson, tells the story of a young boy named Arthur who goes on a quest to save his grandfather's home from being destroyed. It features the voices of Madonna, David Bowie, and Mia Farrow. Merlin, 2008 to 2012. This television series, which aired on the BBC, tells the story of Merlin, a young wizard who serves as Arthur's advisor and helps him become king. It stars Colin Morgan as Merlin and Bradley James as Arthur. Game of Thrones, 2011 to 2019. This television series, which aired on HBO, features many elements of the Arthurian legend, including knights, quests, and magical creatures. It stars Sean Bean as Ned Stark, Emilia Clarke as Daenerys Targaryen, and Kit Harington as Jon Snow. The Sword in the Stone, 1963. This animated film, produced by Walt Disney Pictures, tells the story of Arthur's childhood and his journey to becoming king. It features the voices of Ricky Sorensen as Arthur, Sebastian Cabot as Merlin, and Carl Swenson as Sir Ector. These are just a few examples of the many adaptations of the Arthurian legend that have been made over the years. The enduring appeal of the story and its themes of love, loyalty, and the quest for justice have made it a popular subject for writers, artists, and filmmakers, and there are likely to be many more adaptations in the future.
Kindly help this channel grow by simply subscribing and hit the like button. Thank you.